This prop sword blade was finished without using any paint. You heard me right, it was finished completely using vinyl sticker wraps. And today, I'm going to show you how we did it. Hello, welcome down to the shop, fellow maker. I'm Bill, and today I'm going to show you how we made this prop sword look fantastic without using any paint, and we finished it all with adhesive-backed vinyl. For this project, I teamed up with my buddy Steven over at Soloroboto Industries. Every prop and costume that he makes is finished to a high level of perfection, and this sword blade was no exception. In fact, if you'd like to see some of the other masterpieces that Steven's put together, head on over to soloroboto.com and see what he's been up to. This project started with a resin cast sword blade that Steven made back in his shop. The first layer was a roll of red metallic vinyl. It has a backing paper that needs to be peeled away to expose the adhesive on the back of the vinyl. We peeled away a little bit of the backing as we started applying the sticky sheet to the plastic sword blade. This was done slowly and deliberately to make sure we didn't get any dust or shop crud under the vinyl. Steven also had to work around any creases that formed as he tried to wrap this two-dimensional material around a three-dimensional form. The vinyl can be heated up gently and carefully using a heat gun and then stretched around any difficult spots. We also used a plastic squeegee to press the material into deeper crevices. This particular brand of vinyl also has a transparent protective sheet over the top of it. This allowed us to be a little bit more aggressive with how we applied the vinyl. Once the majority of the red was laid down, we trimmed away most of the extra material so that we could focus on getting the edges cleaned up.
Thanks, Bill.
The front and rear edges of the blade have opposite curves and therefore provided different challenges. The front edge went down fairly easily, and Steven was able to trim the vinyl right up to the edge in just a couple of passes with a sharp hobby knife. The rear edge was a little bit more tricky. We left some extra material and wrapped it over the edge with that extra bit on the opposite side of the blade. After that, we used masking tape to plan where the vinyl should be trimmed. With hands like a surgeon, Steven cut the vinyl down the razor's edge of the blade and then peeled away all of that extra vinyl. More of the red vinyl was trimmed away in the recesses of the blade, and some final touch-up was done to the remaining wrinkles. With the red metallic vinyl all done, we could peel away the protective top sheet and move on to the really exciting part, the carbon fiber. I drew up a pattern of hexagons using Inkscape to prepare for cutting with my machine. We checked and double-checked to ensure the shapes were the right size before committing to cutting the faux carbon fiber material. This particular brand of vinyl cuts extremely well on a vinyl cutter, but I've had mixed results with other brands, so your results may vary. I will link to this specific brand down in the description. We cut the large stock material down to a manageable amount, spray tacked it down to a cutting mat, and then fed that into the vinyl cutter. The machine made short work of our design, cutting dozens of perfect hexagons. Then we weeded out the negative space, leaving behind only the positive hex shapes. While I'm weeding out those stickers, I'd like to take a moment to thank our patrons. Without your generous support, we wouldn't have been able to move into this glorious new shop space. If you'd like to lend us a hand and get access to regular updates and weekly behind-the-scenes videos, you can head on over to patreon.com/punishedprops and consider tossing us $1 or $2. Thank you very much, patrons. Let's go ahead and get back to the build. To transfer these to the sword blade, we laid down a sheet of adhesive transfer paper over the cut carbon fiber, and then we peeled it all off the backing paper, leaving the adhesive back exposed. Steven was able to stick this sheet down to the first red metallic layer, careful to get it placed in just the right spot. Once it was perfectly aligned, he pressed it firmly down onto the surface. Then he flipped it over and trimmed away the extra hexagons. We actually kept those on hand as extra pieces just in case we goofed any of them up later. Then he flipped it over and peeled away the transfer tape, leaving the hexagons down on the surface. Just like with the red vinyl, he had to trim away the overhanging extra material along the sword blade edge. Due to the limited size of our stock material, we ended up having to put this layer down in 2 passes. So we trimmed the edge of our next sticker sheet and lined it up with the previous pieces. This was fairly tedious, but well worth the effort. Stephen peeled away the backing on just 1 row of hexagons and got them lined up and stuck down before peeling away the rest of the sheet and pressing it down on the surface before peeling away the transfer tape. We did find that sometimes individual hexagons didn't go down perfectly, so they were removed, repositioned, and pressed back down onto the surface. All the while, we tried very hard not to touch the adhesive backing with our grubby, filthy human fingers. That was the last step in our vinyl wrapping extravaganza, and the results are just plain stunning. I'm absolutely in love with this finish. It's so cool. I couldn't even imagine trying to replicate something like this using paint. Not only that, but the vinyl does not require any drying time. We actually knocked this side of the blade out in just an hour or 2. Of course, Stephen took the sword home and did the other half of the blade the same way we did this half. He also did the rest of the finishing work, including some paint work on the handle, and the results are incredible. Great job, buddy. I don't know about you, but after giving this a try, I'm desperately looking for an excuse to try it on another prop project in the future. There are a ton of different types of vinyl sheets that you can buy in different colors and metallic finishes and textured finishes like that carbon fiber. Just thinking about all the different combinations I might be able to put together has me excited. And before you ask, yes, you can put vinyl wrap on EVA foam. In fact, it's a fantastic way to get a really smooth and clean finish on your EVA foam props and costumes. I may have to experiment more with that in a future video. Hey, thank you so much for hanging out with me in the shop today. And of course, thank you so much to Stephen for sharing this wonderful project with us. For real, Stephen's a prop and costume making wizard. And as soon as you're done with this video, head on over to Soloroboto.com, check out the rest of his work, and follow him on all the social media places. I certainly learned a lot on this project. I hope you did too. As always, all of the tools and materials that I use will be linked down in the description, along with everything Soloroboto. Of course, if you don't have a vinyl cutting machine yourself, you can get the same effect. You just gotta cut out the vinyl by hand. If you have any questions about this type of build, please leave it down in the comments. I do try my very best to get back to as many of those as I can. That's all I've got for you today. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next build.